We are getting a new perspective today on one of America's most famous political families, as former President George H.W. Bush updates his 1999 book of letters. In the update, he includes personal and often emotional stories about his life and his son's time in the White House. The book, titled All the Best, George Bush, My Life, Letters, Other Writings. Joining us now to discuss it is Doug Wead. He's a presidential historian. And Doug, what a piece of work this is, because the former president shares such intimate and emotional moments throughout the course of his life and his son's presidency. I just want to kick us off with this is a letter he wrote to a longtime journalist and friend, Hugh Sidey, I think is how you pronounce it, of Time magazine. He's passed away since. But it was a January 21st, 2001 letter to Hugh, the day after George W. had been sworn in as president. And this is George H.W. Bush. Quote, "Our son was president of the United States of America. It was for real. Our pride knew no bounds. We managed to contain our emotions, but they shook us to the core. Wonder, joy, amazement, honor, happiness. I don't know how to describe what I felt, but it was good, real good."
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, it's you have to go back to the Adams to find a president who expresses himself like George Herbert Walker Bush does. It's not stream of consciousness, these little notes he writes, they're stream of heart. Presidents always write and tell us what they were thinking, but you seldom get a president who writes and tells you what he's feeling. So this is a wonderful treasure trove for historians.
He talks about, we've seen Bush the elder get emotional since he left office in particular, and the one subject that really gets him going is his son and his family. And certainly this book and the update reflects how easily he is touched on matters that affect them, in particular criticism. He writes about one moment, this is not a critical moment, but he talks about the fall of Saddam Hussein in April of 2003 and writes, quote, "I shamefully choked up when he heard about it, the tears tumbling down my aging cheeks. I was embarrassed. But then I realized I shouldn't worry if people see this visible manifestation of a father's concern, a father's love. It was pride, yes, but it was also an overflowing of joy from all that you have given your mother and me over the years. Barbara and I are at your side. I hope you can feel it. We will stay out of the way, but I am there beside you, my heart overflowing with happiness on this day of vindication." And it just gives you a flavor for what he went through during his presidency with Saddam Hussein versus what Bush the younger did as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, I was intrigued by the former president's correspondence with Mulroney, Prime Minister Mulroney, when he said he just saw his son deliver his address at the Republican National Convention, and he tells the Prime Minister, "Now my political work is done." Really? So you'd read that, you'd think, well, wasn't your political life over when Bill Clinton was sworn in as president? But you see, these presidents spend their presidency trying to shape what happens, and they spend their post-presidency trying to shape what people think happens. But here's George Herbert Walker Bush realizing that his post-presidency is out of his hands. It's not going to be normal. It's now his son, and he's a helpless bystander, and his son will help define the legacy of the Bush family, not he himself. So very revealing, these notes.
The pride that he had in George W. Bush winning the presidency twice, and then the hurt that he felt personally when the press attacked his son, and in particular his son's character. He didn't seem to mind when they, he took his licks, but when they went after his character, described him as a liar or someone who was heartless. We'll talk about his thoughts on those such attacks in the wake of Katrina, and the interesting advice he shared to his granddaughters, Jenna and Barbara, before they went on spring break, among other things, right after the break. Stay with us, Doug.